ball called.
I'm here in New York. The Houston Oilers in front of the New York Jets by a score of 21-10. Actually, it's halftime at the Meadowlands. This is Charlie Jones along with Randy Cross, and Lynn Berman is in the rain along the sideline. And actually, with the weather that we've had, Randy, it's been a pretty good ball game.
It really has. The things that have shown up is the fumbled snaps, the fumbled balls, the inability to catch the front of the ball instead of the back of the ball and let it slip through. And it's really been the big plays either way. Defenses have made the big plays, letting the offense make the ones against them.
And the Houston offense has looked very, very good.
They look very strong. Look for Eddie George and company just to pound this ball on the ground. Frank Reich has got to keep feeding the ball to his receivers, and they got to start catching the front half instead of the back half, and they got to move the ball. Otherwise, this offense of Houston will take that ball and just run away with it.
And Houston will have the opportunity to start the second half on offense as Mel Gray hovers under the kickoff and takes it at the 5. Now out to the 20. The ball trying to be pulled loose rather than tackling him. The Jets already are tackling the ball with a 25-yard kickoff return from Mel Gray. Ronald Moore makes the stop. And what were the numbers at halftime? Well, let's check in with the Coors Light halftime stats.
And a number that's not on there is number of penalties. Only 3 penalties. Pretty error-free game so far, but Houston has done it on the ground. The Jets had that one last drive there at the end where Dishman gave up the big play to Keyshawn Johnson. To be in this football game, that's what the Jets need for Houston. They need Houston to make the mistakes and let them back in.
So Houston starts at their own 30-yard line, first down. 3-step drop, a little behind, but a nice catch by Chris Sanders. As Chris Sanders pulls it in, we will pull our telecast down to the field. And here's Lynn Berman. Lynn.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Rich Kotite told me he took the win for this third quarter. This is a very important defensive series. He says his defense has to make some plays. Jeff Fisher told me the wind is huge in this game, and he says offensively he's going to run some more, and he has to make some plays as well. That's the story from the coaches.
Lynn, hang on a minute. As we look down, it just looks like a really heavy drizzle. Now, you're in it. How heavy is it?
Oh, it's coming out very hard, and the wind is a big factor.
And the defense of the Jets, a big factor here as Eddie George is ramped up by Bobby Hamilton. Lynn Berman, before you go away on us now, what is the wind swirling, or is it moving in a particular direction, or what is it doing exactly?
Well, it does swirl, as you know, but the wind is basically, as you look at it, going left to right. So that's why Kotite has taken the wind. He's banking on this third quarter as being very important for him.
Now, have I kept you out in the rain long enough?
Okay.
Okay. Head for the tunnel. Lynn Berman joining us on the telecast, always working the sideline when Randy and I are here in New York. It's always a great pleasure to work with him. He does an outstanding job for Channel 4, the NBC owned and operated affiliate here in New York City. And now the Jet defense making a name for themselves as Matt Brock stops Ronnie Harmon.
And they're right on the money with the wind thing, Charlie. I mean, we've seen it today. The 2 big pass plays have come moving left to right. The 1 big run play at Eddie George came when the Houston offense was going from right to left. They ended this first half by running in the same direction as they're going. So you're going to see, if they pass at all, very, very short passes over the middle of the field where it's less likely to sail and get away.
This is a third down and long. But the Oilers have converted 5 of 6 third down opportunities. McNair rolls, buys time, buys more time, throws back, and flags are flying. Flag went in the air at the 43-yard line, came down at the 39. Gary Jones had the coverage on Derek Russell.
Ineligible receiver downfield. One of the linemen for Houston got downfield as McNair was scrambling.
What does a lineman do in that situation? Are you counting? Are you just waiting to hear the ball go over your head and go, and then you know you can go? What are you looking for?
When you have that kind of quarterback, you don't go downfield.
Remember the offense, number 77, downfield, penalties decline, 4th down.
They'll hammer in the rain and the cold, and you can. Now the wind is starting to swirl a bit, and we're beginning to pick up the wind in here, and it's getting colder.
Well, remember too, you got Reggie Roby kicking into the wind. This will be a low liner for distance, but that makes it a return ball for Quebec.
Oh, this is a good one. Whoa. He really catches a good one, and it's going to go into the end zone. Oh. What he did, he said, hey, I did what I should have done, and he did. He did a great job. 59 yards on the kick. Is there another flag? Back-to-back flags.
Well, that's what I get for mentioning the fact that there only been 3 penalties in the first half.
Well, we've already had 2 now in the second, so we'll play catch up in a hurry. Dale Hammer is the referee.
Personal foul, number 27 of the receiving team, hitting a man, obviously out of the play, half the distance to the goal, 1st and 10, timeout.
Lou D'Agostino hitting a man obviously out of the play. Now, that's a new one.
Trying to help simplify your life. Buy BASF. We don't make a lot of products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. Buy Taco Bell. There's nothing ordinary about it. Taco Bell. And buy Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
Batteries not supplied.
That picture doesn't say to me, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, it says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Jets now starting on their own 10-yard line. They come out throwing. Corbett, that is his first reception of the ball game out of some 3 opportunities, and he's across the 20 to the 21-yard line, 11 yards, and a first down.
Well, he dropped 1 with the gloves, and he dropped 1 without the gloves, and he got the gloves back on.
Well, the other ones
They're
were
dryer gloves.
They were black gloves, the first one, and these are white gloves.
Well, you see the hand part of these gloves that Wayne Corbett are wearing are like all the ones the other guys are wearing. It's like a real tacky, like skin-type surface. The wetter they get, the tackier it gets. I mean, it actually gets stickier the wetter it gets. And I don't mean tacky in a fashion statement way, though I wouldn't wear that with anything except for football uniform.
Ticky-tacky. All right, here's Adrian Morrell. Henry Ford is there to stop him. We'll give you a check on Adrian Morrell's numbers as what he has rushed for. As you know, over 1,000 yards this year, but not too productive thus far in the ball game. 20 yards on 9 carries.
Well, you know, remember too, this is one of the top rush defenses in the NFL that he's facing. I mean, he's rushed for 100-odd yards against some pretty strong teams. And you throw Buffalo in there, and Indy had a big game today, New England, but this defense number 2 against the run in the NFL.
Reich has all kinds of time. Now he's throwing this away. He was avoiding any kind of loss, throwing it at the feet of Adrian Morrell. He wasn't trying to do anything else. And to say, okay, we're out of time. There's coverage downfield. I'm out of time. We'll go back and try it again.
That's kind of a gotcha, Charlie. I mean, like we mentioned in the first half, sometimes you guess on a play and you hope you get man. Well, that was a play that they guessed on the play. They got a lot of that zone, and Frank Reich got back there and was in the process of having to eat it. So better to throw it at the guy's feet than have to eat it.
Now, the first man that the Houston Oilers defense is going to look at is number 80. And he's going to draw double coverage. He's Wayne Corbett, and he goes across in motion. They try and put him in different places. And we have some jumping and some moving. And I believe that David Williams, with a false start, is going to draw Oilers offside.
Snap. False start. Number 73 of the offense.
And it was?
5 yards. Still 3rd down.
But it was a very stylish false start, Charlie. I mean, it shows that's a big guy, good quick feet. Those feet were like little butterfly wings, you know. It's 5 yards too early, but butterfly doesn't really, you know. But there's a butterfly wings on a 300-pound body.
On the wings of a butterfly. That sounds like something that Grantland Rice would have written many years ago if he would have been in the rain and the wind here at the Meadowlands. Now 3rd down and 15. Backside pressure, but alone underneath the coverage is Corbett. If he can pick up the first down, he's going to be about a yard shot. He almost does it. He needed 15 because of the penalty. He gets 14. Joe Bowden with the tackle. Now, do you go for it? No. I'm surprised they don't. Why not?
They're backed up. I mean, in this part of the field, minus 29, you're practically just giving away 6 points if you go for it right here.
Well, but you're 1-11. You know, if you go for it and you make it, then the crowd gets behind you, and who knows, you might get all the way to the 50-yard line.
You might also go all the way to 112. Absolutely, certainly. They may anyway, but you don't have to get any more help.
All right, fair catch. Merrill Gray has it at the 25-yard line. So the Oilers will take over on their own 25, maybe their 26-yard line. When we come back, a 45-yard kick.
Right there, but they're looking for you in Mike. You're in New York, Mike, and you're not too far across the river.
We may have a response before the afternoon is over. Eddie George with his response. Marvin Jones with the tackle.
Mike, well, they spelled Ditka's name right. At least they watch NBC. You know, they got that one right. That'll invest in a program and find out how to spell the coach's name. But it's you know, it's the holiday season in New York, and it seems that's kind of part of the holiday season in New York is getting on coaches.
Second down and 6. And we will be checking in with Greg Gumbel. Perhaps he'll have a word of encouragement from Mike Ditka in answer to the sign in the room. Eddie George has rushed for 93 yards in the ballgame. Now he's rushed for 95 yards in the ballgame. Victor Green with the tackle. 9.5 minutes left to go. We're in the third quarter. And the Oilers are up by a score of 21-10.
Well, Rodney Harmon's coming into the game now, Charlie. So now's when you expect to see if he's going to pass. He's going to throw it to Rodney Harmon. I would triple team this guy because you know it's going to be a short pass.
Harmon, number 33. He is the offset remaining back. Gets showing blitz and they pull away from it. It was aimed towards Harmon. You were right. I think not only did Randy know, I think everybody
else did. Even Matt Brock. Matt Brock almost got himself an interception for Jim Vaccarelli and the Jets defense.
And he already has that fumble recovery. He played a good ball game.
You know, Rodney Harmon is by himself in the flat here. If Brock does not get the hand up here, this is a first down. Now there's good time and some air time.
Pretty good vertical leap for a man who's 6'5" and 300 plus pounds.
Sure, you can get a couple shoe boxes under his feet there. That's for a lineman, that's getting up.
He got up.
Me personally, it's more like packs of cards under my feet when I jump. But you got a couple shoe boxes.
Up whistles. We got whistles. Ooh, nice kick.
Delay game. Offense. 5 yards. Still fourth down.
And bad field position just got worse for Jeff Fisher's punt team. Reggie Roby, you saw him get off that one. That last one was a boomer. That one was a boomer. And he looked at him saying to himself, guys, how many times I got to do this?
And he is kicking into the wind, into the rain.
He says, man, I left Miami to get away from places where it rained like this so I could play indoors in Houston.
Jets send everybody a low line drive. Corbett, 26-yard line, has a return going to the 40 and out of bounds. You had the feeling he wanted to make a turn up the sideline, but you can't. It's slippery. His feet would have gone right out from under. 21-10 Oilers. With 8:53 left to go, we're in the third. The Jets have the ball. Good field position. Their own 41-yard line. They have the wind and the rain to their back. A touchdown, and they're right in the middle of this one. Adrian Morrell. Morrell for 5, 7 yards on the play. So the Jets open this drive on the ground. Joe Bowden of the Houston Oilers makes the tackle.
And they had better make their yards while the wind favors them, too. They better get their points. You've seen how Houston's offense has struggled going into the wind. What the Jets have done, and Houston with their play selections. Jets so far about what you'd expect against this Houston defense. Rushing not much against the number 2 rushing defense in the league.
Now we rush to the right side. Nice hole. Morrell to the outside. Little stiff arm, and he's pulled down at the Houston 41-yard line. Now listen to this crowd. They're louder than they look. They're hanging around.
And more importantly, too, for the Houston Oilers, Chris Dishman is who makes the tackle here at the very end of the play. And he's still down on the field. He is hurt. Nice blocking by the Jets up front. Adrian Morrell doing really what he's done all year long, is exploit a weakness and burst with his speed. But watch the very end of the play. Chris Dishman, 28, come in for this tackle. Gets the straight arm, twists and turns and pulls, and he's still down on the field being attended to on the sideline for Houston. The old contact.
So spot the ball to the 42-yard line, and it's a first down. Looking who was in Dishman's spot. Classic head turn, run before you catch the ball. You watch this in slow motion. Adrian Morrell, he was ready to go, pick it up, and have another 5 8 yards possibly in his mind, and he forgot the football.
Well, also, too, Charlie, you remember what I said earlier about getting the ball and the numbers. When the wind's at your back like this, it's even harder sometimes than when it's in the wind. There's no real reason to throw that ball up and away like that, but absolutely right. You saw Norrell's head just turn around. If you put it in the guy's chest, it's kind of hard for him to turn around. It gets his concentration.
2nd down and 10. Double flanker at the top of the screen. Timing pattern, turning in underneath the coverage, looking for a flag, and it is not there. Webster Slaughter. Steve Jackson, the backup corner behind Dishman, is in, and he had the coverage on him. And that's one of those coulda, maybe, but wasn't called.
Well, watch what happens at the very end. He's got good body position is what Jackson has. Look where his body is. And that's where Slaughter wants to run through. There's nothing that says in the rule book that the defensive guy has to get out of the way so the offensive guy can catch it. Of course, they'll get around to that eventually. All the edges are given to the offense so far.
And Chris Dishman is back in at his familiar defensive corner spot. The Jets are 4 of 10, 3rd down opportunity. That's Corbett, number 80, who's showing motion, slides along behind. They want to go to it. Then they go to the opposite side. And open and through the hands of Webster Slaughter. That was a pass from Frank Reich that should have been caught by Webster Slaughter. He has caught so many today, but not that one. And that is really a costly error.
And that's another example, Charlie, of what I've been talking about. Hey, you got a ball coming at you. It's wet. It's slippery. You got to catch the front half of the ball. Concentrate on the point of the ball. If you try to grab that ball in the middle or towards the end, that thing's gone. That's exactly what happened to Slaughter.
That is the 5th pass that a Jet receiver has dropped in the ballgame. Hanson the catch. It doesn't turn over. And the fair catch is taken at the 10-yard line by Mel Gray. So the Oilers will have the ball at their own 10 with 7:17 left to go. 3rd quarter, Houston leads by 11. Position, and right now, the Houston Oilers have their worst starting position, their worst field position in reality that they've had in the rain and the wind this afternoon. They'll be starting from their own 10-yard line. And we've had no scoring in the first almost 8 minutes of the second half. As expected, they'll start on the ground with Eddie George. He's kind of looking for a spot. Not a lot there. He's going to pick up a couple of yards. Still knocking on the door of 100 yards today. That's 97. Needs, obviously, 3 more.
You know, and Fisher really, he must be clairvoyant. He was kind of talking to us last night, Charlie, that, you know, the games my guys have a hard time in is when everything comes easy, fast. And it's kind of what happened today. Easy, fast, good scores. Then they expect it to happen all the time. And then we get caught in a field position type game, and they can't adjust to the pace. Well, they haven't adjusted very much right now. They're up 21-10. They got to run the ball going into this win. That's part of adjusting.
And look at the Jets. They're putting 8 in the box. It's 8 right on the line of scrimmage or right behind it. And they can drop off as necessary, but they're taking away the run completely. It's tipped at the line of scrimmage on the pass, and it is incomplete. So it will be 3rd down and 8 with Marvin Washington, who got a finger on it.
That's one of those passes. It's not so much it was batted down. It's almost like McNair misses his helmet but gets his shoulder. Because he's trying to drop this thing in. Goes right off his left shoulder as it's going into towards the receiver. So, yeah, it's one of the other things to talk about adjustments. A young quarterback has got to learn to adjust to these different situations and always expect the defensive lineman's going to want to be where you don't want him.
Steve McNair, 7 of 12. He's thrown for 143 yards. On the draw. Jumping to the outside is Ronnie Harmon with a stiff arm, and he's going to be corralled at the 15-yard line.
More important,
Chad Cascadden with the tackle for the New York Jets, and the Houston Oilers will be forced to punt. Speaking of field position, if Wayne Corbett gets any kind of return, Randy, then the Jets could have good field position.
Yeah, more importantly, Charlie, they did not take much time off the clock with that possession. Just about 5:50 by the time this ball gets into the air, left in this 3rd quarter with the Jets, with the wind. Watch the low liner. Could have had a return last time.
Reggie Roby bobbles it, takes some time, almost gets it blocked. He's trying to fool around with it. Taken on the hop by Corbett. He just dives out for a couple of yards to the 47-yard line. There's a flag down.
That's got to be somebody downfield, as long as it took Reggie Roby to kick that thing.
Ineligible downfield. I got to figure if I'm the Jets, I'll take the ball at the 47-yard line. Refuse it.
Member of the kicking team. Several members of the kicking team. Downfield, 5 yards, re-kick.
Well, he wanted to kick again.
Well, in this situation, you know, you almost get a block in that like that, Charlie. You're taking your time. Jeff Fisher's got to make the point to this guy. I know you're a veteran, and I know you don't want to panic, but maybe a little sense of urgency. Move a little bit faster, because you're about to get the old double thump on you. Just barely missed right there, and you know, the reason you take that penalty is just because of what you just saw. You might get a bad snap. You might get a missed block. You might have a guy fall down. And the odds are Reggie Roby is not going to get an 80-yarder or a 68-yarder like he did last week off in this kind of weather.
A wobbly snap, takes it on the hop. It's a wobbly kickoff. Corbett has it now at the 50-yard line, to the 45, back to the 47. And so the Jets pick up, another 6 or 7 yards by taking the re-kick, 39 yards on the punt, and 4 yards on the return. Next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, college basketball returns to NBC as we bring you the John Wooden Classic. We'll join Game 1 in progress as the Arizona Wildcats battle Keith Van Horn and the 4th-ranked Utah Utes. Then in Game 2, you'll see all of the Louisville Cardinals and the LSU Tigers as they battle in Game 2. John Wooden Classic next Saturday. That's here on NBC. The Jets, in reality, picked up 6 yards by accepting the penalty, and they start from the Houston 47-yard line.
They almost got that bad snap they wanted. Roby had a little hard time fielding the one he got.
Adrian Morrell is the remaining back, and he is the ball carrier. A couple of yards to the 45. And the Houston defense, just as the New York Jet defense, they're, first of all, first things first, they're taking away the run. And then say, okay, beat us with the pass in the rain. And here's what Randy was talking about, the possibility of a bad snap.
Oh, there's knucklers, and then there's snaps that come back end over end. And that's exactly why Ken Rhodes, the special teams coach, wanted them to try to kick that again. And double bonus. They almost got a great play, and they pick up the 6 yards you talked about.
And you may wonder why a flag wasn't thrown on Reggie Roby. Well, on a snap or on a punting situation when the ball hits the ground, all coverage is off. You can go after the kicker then. Bad exchange. Fumble on the exchange. The Oilers say they have it, and they do. Houston recovers the fumble. And Lanoy Jones, the rookie free agent from TCU, comes out with the football.
Second bad exchange of the day so far between Frank Reich and Roger Duffy. Watch the ball. Right through the hands again. It happened to Reich in that Oakland game earlier this season. With Duffy again, right through the hands. Ball drops on the logo there. Jones gets it. And Richie Kotite cannot understand it.
And remember, when the New York Jets recovered an Oilers fumble, Matt Brock had it. That set up a touchdown. Well, let's see now if the Oilers can capitalize on the turnover by the Jets. Here's Eddie George. And there's not a lot there. It seems like every time you carry the ball on first down, you're going to get 2 yards, this time to the 50, and that should take him to 99 yards. For the afternoon's work, needing one more, of course, for the century mark. And it's second down and 8.
The patience of the Eddie George running game, though, is really its simplicity and its necessity. He's got to be patient and wait for more situations where he can get that air. Remember, we've seen him twice with air, once for about a 10-yard run and once for a touchdown. Give him the air, he's going to be gone.
So on the year, he's rushed for 1,120 yards. Nice play action fake. Buys time, wobbly passes too low, and a sliding contest. Derek Russell, 8.5, 8.4, 9.3.
Left a skid mark, too. I'm not kidding either. I mean, there is now a wet field like this. Watch Russell. Look behind him. There's a trail. The skid mark on it. You don't leave skid marks on grass. Of course, you don't slide like that usually on grass either, but there's now like a groove in the field.
And with the steady downpour that we've had all day today, there's this film of rain film of water that's right on top of the AstroTurf, and you just came up and surfboard it. Wobbly throw. Tough to throw in this kind of weather.
Well, especially when you're throwing to the outside in this stadium, and Steve McNair is having his first wonderful experience here at the Meadowlands and exactly how you go about throwing here, but you're always better off throwing towards the middle of the field going this way, only because it seems to catch less wind. You know, the best analogy wind-wise I've ever heard here, kind of a toilet bowl. The wind swirls around and around and around, kind of like water. Go right straight through the middle, you get the least amount of turbulence.
You think I'm going to comment on that? You're crazy.
Possible fake punt territory here, Charlie.
Oh, this is a good one. Just what he wanted. A high, lazy floater. Fair catch. Better stay away from it, and he does. And takes a Houston roll. He's going to be down somewhere around the 7-yard line. 43 yards on the kick. 3:38 left in the third.
They still got to stuff a team trying to run with that wind at their back.
Here in the third quarter, the Jets with 2 first downs, the Oilers with 1 first down. Adrian Morrell around the left side, and he's going to pick up a first down. The Jets starting from their own 8-yard line, and now they have some breathing room as we check the ticker of the ball games today in the National Football League, and some finals are going to roll by first.
Yeah, it's funny, Charlie. It's almost like the Jets look like they're running downwind. Morrell's had a couple of big runs, and Houston's running the ball basically the same kind of plays, and it looks like they're running into the wind and can't get anything going.
Spotted at the 22-yard line, first down. Let's try the right side. Angles out of bounds, a little stiff arm along the sideline. Don't take any shots at me. He shoved it in the face of Chris Dishman.
It's starting to sound like an NBA game out here with all the squeaking and squelching off these floors, off this surface right now. But, you know, the Jets running game has done something they didn't do earlier in the game against this fast defense, is get the perimeter. That's 2 plays in a row, getting the perimeter and getting the yards.
.255 time remaining in the third quarter as the chains come out for the measurement. And you heard Baron Wortham said he didn't get the call. He's shouting out at Jeff Fisher. Fisher wanted to know why in the world they weren't in a particular defense, and Wortham was very upset in return.
In these days of high-tech headgear and microphones in helmets and microphones and walkie-talkies on the sidelines, they all really rely back on the wiggle-waggles on the sideline and the fact that a coach on the sideline can give him the right signals, kind of like a third base coach, and sometimes they just don't get it.
Meanwhile, back at the game, it is a first down at the 32-yard line. With 2:41 and counting, time remaining in the third, as Fred Baxter goes across in motion. Play action fake to Morrell, has a man open deep in a double coverage, and it is Fred Baxter, the motion man, and he headbutts his way to the 45-yard line of the Oilers for 23 yards before Marcus Robertson can bring him down.
But what a difference, too, Charlie, when you just look at the way the ball is floating and moving for Wright, going with the wind, taking advantage of this while they still got it. They're in a zone again, and you saw him just drop one right into that hole in the zone with a tight end settle.
And that is 3 first downs in a row on this drive for the Jets. They started at the 8-yard line, now at the Houston 45. They trail 21-10. Bad snap on the exchange. Oilers say they have it, and they do again.
Unbelievable. Never ask what else could go wrong, Richie, because you know right around the corner is something else. Well, we told you at the beginning of the game, the most simplest part of this football game is always the exchange between the quarterback and the center, and no more critical in wet conditions. And once again, that ball comes shooting right up into Frank Reich's chest. Look at this, right through the hands, into his chest, onto the ground, Oiler ball.
Gary Walker comes out with it for Houston. That is the third fumble by the Jets and the second that the Oilers have recovered. So Houston takes over on their own 45-yard line, first down. And the Jets are running out of time to have the wind to their back. Here's Eddie George around the corner. And he is going to dive and see where they give him the mark. It looks like it's going to be about a foot shy of the first down.
Well, he's been looking like he was running into the wind. I think the wind kind of stopped on that one. He got the plays, he got the perimeter, and he got the yards.
And he also has a total now 107 yards rushing in the ballgame. Again, 45-yard line, second down and 1. Had no scoring in the third quarter. It's still Houston 21 and the New York Jets 10. McNair again with that quarterback sneak. Second time. Is that second or third time in the ballgame he's done that for the first time?
That's the third sneak by McNair, Charlie, and it tells you something about Fisher's game plan here. At this point of the game, with 50 seconds left in the third quarter, going into the wind, second and a foot, and you sneak it. You do that for one reason and one reason alone. You want to get the first down. You want to get this quarter over with, and you want the wind at your back with a good field position.
Now, McNair has rushed for 22 yards. He has 5 straight incomplete passes the last 5 times that he has thrown. We have some touching, and they're going to call a false start. I mean, that's what the Jets are assuming they're going to call. And let's see what the officials say.
Prior to the snap, encroachment, number 93, the defense, 5 yards, still first down.
Mark Spindler gets the call. There was not a false start. He moves across the neutral zone, makes contact prior to the ball being snapped. Technical explanation of encroachment.
Well, when I was playing sandlot football, and I was never a center then. I was lucky enough to be throwing the ball. I'm not a quarterback. That was one of the prime rules: is no bucking the center. You buck the center is when the guy had his head between his legs trying to snap it, and you hit him when he wasn't looking. That was a great example, and they got 5 yards.
First down and 5. Remember, you used to be offside. Here's Eddie George. 3 yards to the 35-yard line. And that'll take us to the end of the third quarter. The Houston Oilers have the ball. Good field position in Jet territory. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
The express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Back at the rainy Meadowlands, I just talked to Neil O'Donnell. He was helped into a van by his wife, driven away by a friend. He left the stadium with his torn calf muscle in his right leg, pulled calf muscle that happened before the game. He said this has been some kind of season. I asked him, will he play again this year? And his quote was, who the heck knows? Back to you, Charlie and Randy.
All right, thank you, Lem. Is that his quote? I think Lem cleaned up the quote. That's what I think. I really think that. So for family entertainment, we appreciate that, Leon. And as he cleaned that up, the Houston Oilers cleaned up their first down, and they will have the ball at the 31-yard line of the Jets.
McNair again on a sneak, and every time he's done it, Charlie, he's gone right between Stepnoski and Bruce Matthews, and there's always been a hole there.
First down, 31-yard line. First time throwing on this drive in the single coverage along the sideline, and it is incomplete. Chris Sanders, the intended receiver, Marcus Coleman, simply pinned him against the sideline.
Well, they tried to do the same thing. Remember the great move in the first half Sanders put on Coleman? You know, that I'm going to stop, don't pay any attention, attention to me. There it is again, and Coleman doesn't bite this time. Stays with him stride for stride. Little pushing and holding on both sides, and the ball well underthrown.
Second down and 10 at the 31. Oilers showing 3 wide receivers. And showing Eddie George straight shot up the middle. Pops loose. He's to the 15-yard line. Lonnie Young, the strong safety, went right at the ankles to cut him down at the 15-yard line as he picked up 16 yards on the play, and he continues to add to his total over 1,100 yards.
Bruce Matthews and Stepnoski working inside. Brad Hopkins doing a good job at left tackle. They're providing the air, and George is providing the yards once he gets it. When he sees that much open space, you're lucky Lonnie Young's there. Otherwise, it's a touchdown.
128 yards on 22 carries. Has the touchdown. That was from 35 yards out in the first half. On the draw, here he is again. And he spins his way to the 11-yard line. Now, the Oilers are doing a couple of things. They're obviously moving inexorably towards the goal line of the Jets, but they're also taking some time off the clock. What you talked about in the third quarter, when they had the ball in their possession, they ran off only, what, a minute and 5 seconds. But already they've run almost 2 minutes away here in the fourth quarter, and that will work to their advantage.
Hey, you're kind of on the horns of the dilemma. You know the other team is going to have a hard time throwing into this wind. But on the other hand, what you're doing best at this point is not throwing the ball. Wind or no wind, the best thing you're doing is turning around, handing it to 27, and watching that line create air.
And they do it again. Here is Eddie George, this time sliding just a little bit to his right behind the right guard and right tackle. Bobby Hamilton wraps him up. But the Oilers continue to move on the ground. And they're moving on the ground, and the Jet defense knows that's what they're doing. And now Ronnie Harmon is going to check into the set along with Derek Russell.
Well, there's been no mystery for this Jets defense today. I mean, they could have told us, you know, at 5 o'clock this morning, what are the Oilers going to do to you? Well, they're going to try to pound Eddie George down our throat. They're going to try to fake us with a big play passing, but otherwise they're going to pound us. And what they've done is they've pounded us.
Ninth play of the drive, all the yardage on the ground. Here's that quarterback sneak, needing 3 yards, and he's going to pick up 5. Steve McNair again with the quarterback sneak, and that surge of that offensive line, setting behind them the extra wide receiver, and Ronnie Harmon making the defense think he might throw, but here it is, a look from the pit.
Well, big, powerful legs on McNair. I mean, it goes without saying, those linemen in the middle, you know, Kevin Donnelly, Bruce Matthews, and Stepnoski at center have big, powerful legs, but this quarterback, McNair, not only can he move, he's got legs that are like a foundation. Those aren't like sprinters' legs. Those are foundation.
Ball at the 3-yard line. First down, goal to go. Do you go with the quarterback sneak again? Oh, Eddie George. He kind of weaves his way through. He's going to get almost to the 1-yard line. A couple of tough yards for Eddie George. It'll be second down and goal to go. We're moving on the 11-minute mark. Time remaining in the ball game. The Oilers are up 21-10. They, of course, would like to make that 28-10. So they've got a little breathing room here in the fourth quarter.
You know, when he's out in the open field, this guy reminds me a little bit of Marcus Allen, in that you watch him run and he looks kind of upright, and you say, well, guys, why don't they get good shots on him? They know how to move their bodies so you don't get the good shots. What he hasn't quite learned yet is that pay dirt, that down by the goal line and run 2 inches off the ground like Marcus does.
He's worked for 137 yards, and he is going to rush for his second touchdown of the ball game. Eddie George scoring from just over a yard out, and has his second touchdown of the ball game, one from 35 yards away and one from 1 yard away.
Well, going to the left, watch him follow Wycheck, 89, his H-back. Bruce Matthews gets out, gets a little bit of a block, but you know, that is a physical mismatch when you get a guy this size, 6'3", 230, and you got to try to tackle him at an angle. I'm sorry, Cascadden, any linebacker, you aren't going to bring this guy down, hitting him at an angle, trying to stop with half a yard to go.
55 yards on the drive and all of the yardage on the ground. Al Del Greco to attempt the point after. And it is good. So the Houston Oilers now have stretched their margin. They leave the New York Jets 28-18.
By Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By Staples, the office superstore. And by Miller Lite, with the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good.
As we come back in the rain, this is Charlie Jones. Let me correct my mistake as we went away on the score. The margin is 18 points. The score is Houston 28 and the New York Jets 10. And we have 10 minutes and 29 seconds left to go in the ball game, and that should suffice for all of the numbers. And the Jets are going to have an opportunity as Alex Van Dyke, the up back, has it on the return. He makes a nice move at the 35-yard line and then out of bounds near the 50-yard line. So he gives the Jets very good field position. Steve Jackson chases him out after 37 yards on the return. Glenn Foley is now the quarterback for the New York Jets. Glenn Foley this year has attempted one pass, and it was incomplete.
Well, at least we know he got the snap on that one play because he was able to throw the pass. That's his early challenge as a young quarterback today in these wet conditions. See if he can get the ball from the center because Frank Reich, the last two possessions, wasn't able to handle that.
And so Glenn Foley and company will start at the Jet 49-yard line, first down. And he opens with 4 wide receivers, sets and throws a little bit of a wobbly pass to Wayne Corbett, and the crowd has something to cheer about. Chris Dishman with the stop and a hurry-up offense.
You heard the end over end. That was kind of a side over side. That thing was going like a helicopter, but it got exactly to where Foley needed it to be, and that was right in the chest of Corbett.
The ball at the Houston 44-yard line. Second down and 3. Same formation, tries this side. It is complete to Webster Slaughter. Lee Cole was in the area. Darrell Lewis was also there and tried to pick off the pass. But he missed it.
That was a pretty impressive start for a guy like Foley. You know, the only reps he got during the week, he was watching Frank Reich watch Neil O'Donnell, and all he really did was run the scout team. He played McNair all week long for the Houston Oilers offense as a dummy.
Meanwhile, Webster Slaughter, 5 receptions, 44 yards. Foley scrambles, another wobbly pass. A flag is down. It's incomplete. He's going to Keyshawn. I think it's the first time they've thrown to Keyshawn in the second half. Is that right? I don't remember him throwing to him. It is, yes. In the first half, they threw to him 6 times. He had 2 receptions, including a touchdown.
Holding, number 76 to the offense, 10 yards, repeat first down.
Well, this hold right here, right on the right side. That's a mortal lock there on Anthony Cook. I mean, that's a good one.
That's a headlock.
You know, there's getting kind of a hold, sort of your money's worth, and that's getting all your money's worth right there. He was holding armpit, he was holding face, he was holding face mask.
First down and 20 at the 46-yard line. Corbett starts in motion, slides back out. Foley overthrows the intended receiver, and that was Alex Van Dyke. So it's going to be second down and 20 as we close the book on Frank Reich. 13 of 27, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. But one of the things that it does not show are the 2 fumbles on the exchange from the center that were recovered by the Houston Oilers, and the Houston Oilers that were very costly.
They were big. Also, his drops. He had a lot of receivers that he put the ball in some pretty good spots, and 5 of the balls were dropped by Jets receivers. So, you know, outside of the bad snaps, not a bad performance for Frank Reich.
Foley has protection, throws over the middle. It is incomplete. Webster Slaughter, the intended receiver. And so certainly it is third down and 20.
You know, this is an offense that came in here with Ron Earhart's direction that's really done wonders, passing for almost 240 yards a game, running the ball consistently, running it well, and has misfired a lot. One real good drive today. The rest of the time, they've been sort of in search of a clue and haven't found it.
Jets now with 5 wide receivers. Foley throws, pass is complete. It's going to be good for about 6 or 7 yards to Wayne Corbett. Way short of the first down. Now do you go for it here?
Now you go for it, Charlie. You've been in the hurry-up offense. Now it's fourth down. You're Richie Kotite. Heck, you're anybody coaching this Jets team. You go for it on fourth down.
Fourth down and 14, 40-yard line. Foley sets, and he's out of time. He is sacked at the 45-yard line. Anthony Cook got it. So Glenn Foley of Boston College, who was taken in the 7th round of the draft in 1994, comes in. This is his 3rd season. As we mentioned earlier, has not seen a lot of action. Didn't see a lot of action last year or the year before. Thus far, he's not the answer for the Jets. We've got a timeout. Back in a moment. An Oiler victory to give them a record of 7-6 with 3 games to go. Jacksonville and Cincinnati at home, and they wind up the season at Baltimore. Here is Eddie George. Figure that the Oilers are going to wind up most of this quarter with Eddie George running. Bobby Hamilton makes the tackle as the ticker goes by. Oakland in front of Miami, 14-0 in the 4th quarter. Denver comfortably in front of Seattle without Freeze as the quarterback. Seattle may not be able to make the run that they thought that they could, although they have a very good defensive team. St. Louis beating New Orleans.
That was a battle of...
I'm not sure anybody cares.
Not very good, and really not very... Look at these guys. You got 3 jet helmets and one's deflated. I picked the one on the left that's not inflated as the 96 mascot.
2nd down and 7, and here's Eddie George. And he is stuffed right at the line of scrimmage. But the Oilers, in reality, they do need to run the table. They win the first of the 4 remaining games, and they need to win the last 3, and if they do, then they'll be in the playoffs.
Well, you know, Jeff Fisher, like you mentioned earlier, started off his team 5-2, really looked to be as a real force. Stumbled and bumbled for a few weeks. He had some pretty good football teams. Had a hard time with Pittsburgh, San Francisco. Honestly, had no business losing to Seattle the way they did. That blocked field goal at the end of the game for a touchdown. This is a team, if they run it at 10-6, they're going to be on the road somewhere nice and cold.
McNair throws, and it is incomplete. He goes to Willie Davis, and so that means that Reggie Roby will come in to kick it away. Thus far in the ball game for Houston, Eddie George has carried the ball 30 times, and every running back will tell you they love to carry the ball 30 times, and he's rushed for 141 yards.
Yeah, and really in this game, Charlie, what Jeff Fisher told us yesterday, you know, let's be realistic. This game means a lot to us. We have to win this game. You know, the Jets are 1-11. I mean, what's this game mean to them besides pride? I mean, pride is a lot if you're a professional. But playoffs is a lot more than pride.
And right now, playoff is leading 28-10. Here's pressure. Roby gets a good kickoff. Trebek with a fair catch at the 10-yard line. So the Jets will take over at their own 10-yard line. 7:15 time remaining in the ball game following that 42-yard catch. Be on television. Capitalize NBC. Jets at the 10-yard line. Then Foley, the quarterback, comes to the sideline. It's dropped. Alex Van Dyke couldn't hang on to it.
They're getting easily into the double digits on balls that have not been caught on drops. Either deflected off the hands or dead in the chest and not caught.
Remember last year, Glenn Foley suffered a dislocation of his throwing shoulder in the last play from scrimmage in game 10. That was the New England ball game. And that took him out for the rest of the season. Otherwise, he would have seen more action last year. Boy, he cocks and fires in a hurry, doesn't he?
Trying to beat the wind. Because if he gets back there and throws it fast, he won't have to go throw it in as much wind. It's pretty smart, actually.
Or maybe the wind won't realize he's throwing.
Well, the wind in this case has got a Oilers uniform on it and a nice hard helmet. So he's being smart because if he throws it fast, he doesn't eat one of those helmets.
3rd down and 10 at the 11-yard line.
This one, Charlie. It's been amazing doing as many games as we have for the Jets. It's just kind of like watching a Twilight Zone version of Gilligan's Island. You know, as much as they want to get off the island, these guys are stuck. I mean, this stadium ought to be renamed the SS Minnow because they ain't getting off this desert island. It's on lose, look good, lose.
Hanson the kick.
You can supply the characters to Gilligan's Island where you see fit.
Pretty good kick. Fair catch. Mel Gray, 48-yard line of Houston. The Oilers take over. 42 yards on the kick, 6 minutes, 56 seconds, time remaining in the game. Oilers in front, 28-10. Houston with their own 49-yard line. And here's Rodney Thomas, who is the ball carrier. He's going to pick up 9 yards on the play. Stopped by Victor Green. So the Oilers now in this half have 75 yards rushing and 11 yards passing, while the Jets have 38 yards rushing and 58 yards passing.
So the heck with the wind. We got the wind, but we're not going to throw it. The highest the ball's going to get off the ground is from Steve McNair's waist to the running back's waist.
Rodney Thomas has rushed for 91 yards coming into the ballgame. So with the 9 yards, he now has 100 yards on the year. He'll add to that. So, whoa, is he nailed?
Gary Jones, coming from that safety position, lit his tree.
And Gary will do that to you, won't he?
Well, he really will. I mean, the official tree lighting right there outside NBC there is Tuesday, but the little Houston tree there gets lit by Gary Jones. Look at that. Exiting hole, no ticket required.
38-yard line of the Jets. 5 minutes and 40 seconds time remaining in the ball game. We have not received an official attendant. Nothing there for Rodney Thomas.
Hey, it shouldn't take one of our spotters up here very long to count him if you got a minute. Pretty sparse.
Lynn Berman at the opening of the show pointed out the smallest attendance here in the Meadowlands for the Jets, 21,148. That was the last game of the 1989 season against Buffalo. And they thought the attendance here with the 111 records coming in and the wind and the rain might be below that.
I've seen flea markets in Bakersfield draw bigger crowds than this thing today.
That, by the way, was Joe Walton's last game. To the outside is Rodney Thomas. We've talked about what the Oilers have remaining. Well, the Jets are at New England, and then they are home against Philadelphia, and the final weekend of the season, they're home against Miami. So they have one more road game and 2 more home games here at the Meadowlands. So what does the playoff picture look like? Well, if this will give you an idea, it looks like 78. No, that's not right. It looks like here as we update it. Remember, there are 6 spots.
And it keeps Houston right in the hunt. You know, you almost go down to the 9s and the 8s there. Those are the guys that, unless, you know, they do something incredibly stupid, they're going to be in. You get those 7s and 6s. Those are the guys on the bubble. Jeff Fisher's now going to be 7 and 6. Still on the bubble. We already said it earlier, Charlie. He's got to win out.
And McNair rolls out after the fake, and he keeps. And he picks up another first down. He does it with a quarterback sneak, and he does it also outside. And we've got a timeout as an Oiler. Is that an Oiler down on the play?
It's a Jet defender who's down on that hit on McNair.
And when you saw the updated version of the playoff picture, of course, Houston still carrying that record of 6-6. They're 4 minutes and 25 seconds away, having that record go to 7-6 with 3 games remaining. Bobby Hamilton, the defensive end, is the player who is down for the New York Jets. And speaking of players down, if you joined us late in the ball game and didn't realize that Neil O'Donnell did not play at all, Randy will explain to you what happened before the ball game, which everybody was stunned when it happened.
Well, absolutely. You know, Len Berman reported at the top of the game that just dropping back, Neil O'Donnell felt and heard something snap in his calf. They're calling it a pulled calf muscle, and he's left the stadium already, and that left Frank Reich in a position there where he had to start this football game. And, you know, the Jets have been plagued by a lot of things. We knew coming into the game the quarterback position would not be that critical. The team that ran the ball the best and most consistently was going to win. That's exactly what's happened, because the Houston Oilers and Eddie George have definitely showcased their running game, and the Jets generally just have not.
Mark Spindler has replaced Bobby Hamilton, who has come out of the ball game. It's a first down at the 24-yard line of New York. The Oilers still on the ground, pushing through and popping clear is Rodney Thomas. and he heads for the end zone, and 6 more points for Houston. And his teammates are streaming down the sidelines to congratulate him. Rodney Thomas, that is his first touchdown of the year, and let's check, that may be his first NFL touchdown. Is that right? We'll quickly go to the record book to find out.
Well, that was just bad defensive effort, not execution, bad effort. Not only are there no missed tackles there, no one on that Jets defense lays a hand on Mr. Thomas. You know, you got to take your hat off to that young guy, too. He was a back that was featured a lot last year, had about 900 yards. They draft a running back. Eddie George comes, runs wild.
Extra point is good. No, he has scored before, but that is his first touchdown this year, and all of his friends on the team are celebrating for him. Houston 35, Jets 10, back with the kickoff. Here's the Meadowlands dripping this afternoon. 6 plays, 51 yards on that last touchdown drive by the Houston Oilers.
Jeff,
Houston now, as Jeff said, you know, one game, you know, it's he said it's cliche time.
Yeah.
But they have this one now. Now think only about Jackson.
well, you remember, Charlie, 30 guys on this team with 3 or less years of experience. That's really a challenge for a young coach to focus a young team and keep them in the here and now. And got to say, Fisher and his staff did a fine job of doing that.
And Rodney Thomas, who just scored the touchdown, is on the special teams as he comes down the kickoff coverage for Houston. Meanwhile is Reggie Cobb with the return. And now a little extracurricular pushing and shoving. Lee Cole gets the tackle. 19 yards on the return. Now with 3:51 time remaining as Glenn Foley comes out as the quarterback for the New York Jets. Sparingly used this year, obviously, because of the statistics. He only was 0 for 1 coming into this ball game. And not only does he have a situation where the Oilers are going to rush 3 and the sticker goes by, they're going to drop everybody else in the pass coverage. And he throws into double coverage at the 30-yard line. Pass is complete to Keyshawn Johnson. So Keyshawn has his 3rd reception of the ball game. 7th time that a pass has been headed his way. Michael Barrow with the tackle. And here come the Jets again. Foley steps, runs out of time, throws it into coverage, and it is intercepted. It's picked off by Chris Dishman. Dishman, a little stop it and go and anything like that. And he's killing the old clock killer himself. Remember, he told us, he said, I've got the coverage on Keyshawn because I've been talking a lot that I don't get a lot of action. No, they don't throw at me. They stay away from me. And I want some action. He says 2 guys that have been yapping too much are going to be involved in the ballgame.
Well, he gets his first interception of the year, and it's not so much, gee, great play. Good position. Ball's put up, and he just sort of happens to be the defender for Houston that's there to get it. And you know, this is starting to get pretty ugly, really, because you're not looking at too much enthusiasm from the Jets' offensive players to get after that guy who's got their ball.
And now for the Oilers, James Ritchie is the quarterback. He's the rookie free agent out of Stephen F. Austin, and this will be his first appearance this year. At least he's not thrown a ball this year, and he is the number 3 quarterback, and they call him the inactive quarterback. And really, reality, if you come in earlier in the ballgame, the other quarterbacks cannot come back in. This being the 4th quarter, that changes, though. Chris Chandler, of course, as you know, has the ankle injury, and so yeah, let's give the kid a little handoff, a little work at handing it off.
You know, Charlie, coming into the last week's game, the Jets were 1-10, and as cliche as it sounded, they hadn't played bad. They played a lot of close games, but they had kept losing. I tell you, the last 2 weeks, they've looked like a 1-10 team last week, and they've looked like a 1-11 team today. And I mean, they've looked bad. And at times, they look like they've given up.
Soon to be a 1-12 team. Rodney Thomas is pulled down from behind, right at the line of scrimmage. That is his 7th carry. He has rushed for 46 yards, and he's pulled down by Bobby Houston. Now as the Oilers go back to the huddle, they take a look at the clock. They'll take the countdown to the 2-minute warning. So in just a moment, we'll have 2 minutes left to go in this ball game. And for the Jets next week at New England, then they return to the Meadowlands for Philadelphia and Miami. Now the 2-minute warning. Rock from the Sun, followed by the network premiere of Jurassic Park. That's all tonight on NBC. Viewers on the West Coast receiving shows at their regularly scheduled time. 3rd down and 8, 30-yard line. Here's the pitch to Rodney Thomas. And he will get near the 25-yard line. Here's the attendance for the game late this afternoon, 21,731, 21731. And that is not the smallest attendance. That still is the Buffalo game of '89 of 21,148. So more than 21,000 brave, wet, cold souls were here to stay with us this afternoon.
Now there's one
That's
right there,
cold.
but I think he might be smart. There's the brave soul. He's under an overhang, though. I don't think he's too tough.
Here's Rodney Thomas on 4th down and about 3 yards to go. It will be close. Let's see if he gets it. He's not going to. The Jets are going to hold and take over on down. So the Jets offense will come on the field with 1 minute and 4 seconds. That is the time remaining in the game. Glenn Foley again returns as quarterback. But against him, when he's set with 5 wide receivers, the Oilers have been rushing only 3, sometimes 4, and dropping everybody else back in courage. In the coverage, he's completed only 3 of 10 for 28 yards, and Chris Dishman has the interception.
So you got 3 defensive linemen and 8 people back in the zone. There's nowhere to throw this ball.
Yeah. Where do you throw it? Well, you throw it over there. Okay. Wayne Corbett. Corbett gets mugged. Hey, guys, I just caught the ball. It was up there.
You throw it short, and you hope a guy can break a tackle. Well, he broke one, but it was the other 10 he had to try to break, couldn't get.
45 seconds and counting for Wayne Corbett. Remember, he got off this slow start with the gloves. He couldn't catch one with the black gloves. Then he took them off. Missed one barehanded, but since then he's gone to the white gloves. 5 receptions for 40 yards. Richie Anderson, the fullback, out to the 30-yard line. Clock continues to move. 24 seconds and counting. Time remaining in this game for the Houston Oilers to take their record to 7-6. The Jets to drop to 1-12. And here is the draw to Richie Anderson. And that doesn't accomplish a lot, except what it does accomplish, it becomes a